Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Game Junk Podcast, episode 125, recording on Sunday, October 23rd, 2022. My name is Frank.
Hello, my name is Sean.
And my name is Andrew.
Sean mixing it up. What's up with that? We'll be talking about the Silent Hill transmission, which took place this week, and maybe giving our initial thoughts on Gotham Knights, which Sean and I have both tried, and maybe another little game I've been playing that I'm excited to talk about. So, how you guys doing?
Great.
Not bad,
Tired.
not bad.
I'm sure you're still riding high off the Silent Hill transmission this week.
Ooh, big
Very
time.
high.
Well, we might as well get into it. I'll just say I have no history with Silent Hill. I've never played literally a second of a Silent Hill game. I think I've only seen screenshots. I've never watched anyone play it. I want to play them, but I feel like I need to start at the first one, and there's never been a remake. It's hard to find the first one, and I've never gone there. So I don't have a lot to say about this from a fan's perspective. I will say the Discord is ablaze with Silent Hill and Resident Evil talk. So I think there are many passionate fans for this series, and I think a lot of people were waiting for it. Where do you guys stand on this?
Played a couple hours of Silent Hill 2. That's about it. But I mean, it's a series I've always been interested in. Even some of the more recent ones, like I know Sam Barlow worked on a couple of them, and they're kind of weird, kind of not typical Silent Hill games. So I've been curious about those, but I guess it's been like, how long? Like 10 years, right? Since the last game?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I mean, PT doesn't count, although some people put it on their game of the year or game of the decade list, which is just ridiculous. So I guess we'll go through Huck, do you have any history with Silent Hill?
You know what? I played like probably number one for like an hour, maybe. I don't really recall. I feel like there was maybe like a PSP Silent Hill or something I played as well. I don't know if this was like just the PlayStation 1 version I played on the PSP, if that was even possible. I don't know. I'm conflating multiple games, I'm sure, together into one. But very little history.
That might have been Shattered Memories.
Okay, maybe.
Your memory,
which is a reimagining. It's a reimagining of the first game, and it is.
Oh,
on
it is?
PSP. Yeah.
Oh,
okay, well, my memory of Silent Hill gameplay is shattered, so no, that appropriate could maybe. I don't know.
Shattered Memories? Shattered,
yeah.
Like Shattered Memories?
Yeah, like my memories are shattered. I have no memory of them. Yeah. So,
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So full disclosure, I did not want to play Silent Hill on PlayStation 1 because I thought it looked like a cheap, shitty Resident Evil. I was looking down at Silent Hill. I was like, the fog is just, the pop-in's too bad. They have to have fog, and it still looks like shit. This game's garbage. Wrote it off completely. So I know better now, and I do really want to try it, but it's just not a good time. So maybe this is the time. The remake coming, from what I've heard, I cannot verify this. So the main announcement, I would say the first announcement, was a Silent Hill 2 remake. And I cannot verify this. I've done no research. Anecdotally, I believe I've heard someone say Silent Hill 2 actually takes place before Silent Hill in the series. Chronologically?
I don't know about that. I don't think so. Maybe, but so you're saying that's why they're doing number 2 first?
I feel like someone told me that possibly in the Discord, but who knows? Either way, is there a reason why Silent Hill 1 is ignored completely? Am I missing something here? It seems weird that it
does.
Well, I mean, Resident Evil did the same thing with their remakes, right? I mean,
not really. They remade Resident Evil 1 right after 4.
Yeah, I guess it just
and it's been released on every platform on Earth since then. So it's not a game that's been buried for some reason. It just seems weird that they wouldn't do anything with one.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like all the Silent Hill games, at least the first 4, are kind of hard to find now, and that, like, there are HD remasters, but like people say they're terrible ports and stuff like that. So, yeah, I don't know. Like, I guess I was curious too. Why start with Silent Hill 2? But it's definitely the one everyone says is the best. So maybe that's part of it.
Yeah, it might be that Silent Hill 1 is just too dated in terms of mechanics, and Silent Hill 2, is closer to a modern action adventure game. I'm not sure. Let us know in the comments if you know why. But I'm sure I will pick this up. Also worth noting, it is a PlayStation exclusive, PlayStation 5, which feels like a pretty big deal. Now, I don't know if I'm over estimating the popularity based on the Discord, where people seem to love it, but I think it is a pretty big get for PlayStation overall.
Well, I think it's a big deal. I mean, like, there's been rumors for, I guess, the last 10 years pretty much about a new Silent Hill game, and people are always excited. And, it has been quite a while. Whether this is, feels like it's going to be a timed exclusive. I mean, it seems like there's very few pure exclusives these days. So I'd be very surprised if it isn't just a timed exclusive. But yeah, I think it's a pretty big deal for Sony.
Yeah, I mean, I got the sense it is exclusive. They first said exclusive to PlayStation. That was the PlayStation international worldwide person talking, and then it switched to the actual Konami people, and they said launching on PlayStation. So it seemed like there was a little bit of a disconnect. I don't know if it was intentional or not, but yeah, I got the feeling when it was all said and done that this was exclusive to PlayStation.
It could be. I must say, though, going to the trailer, I thought it looked pretty interesting. I thought the hair physics stood out to me on his head. And I must say, I was getting some major Crispin Glover vibes from a certain few of the screenshots. And I'm wondering if he is the lead actor in this game.
I don't think so. But I that seems to be the thing a lot of people are talking about, that in terms of remastering or coming up with a version of this main character, which I have no frame of reference. I know nothing about this character. It means nothing to me. Yeah, I thought they looked pretty generic overall. Not that interesting.
Yeah,
the one that interests me... Oh, go ahead, Sean.
No, the trailer looked good, I thought. And I mean, just in general, I'm excited because, as we've kind of been talking about, I kind of would like to play through Silent Hill 2. Going back to those games is pretty tough now, as we've said with the Resident Evil games, because of I'm pretty sure it's tank controls, right? Like, it's been a while since I've played it, but it's giving it some like a modern feel and updating the graphics and all that stuff.
Well, Sean, they went with an over-the-shoulder camera, so the player's more immersed in the world.
Yeah, but I mean,
like, who cares? Like, what a weird thing to say. What other camera are you going to use?
Well, you could still use fixed camera, I guess, right? Like, that's
Silent Hill wasn't fixed camera, I don't think. Silent Hill 2?
Oh yeah, I guess because it's more kind of open, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, I
wouldn't first person be even more immersive if that was your argument? Like, it just felt like...
Yeah, I think it's definitely just influenced by the Resident Evil remakes, but it is weird because Silent Hill is not so much about the combat, whereas Resident Evil arguably has become much more about the combat. So
I feel it was more to address that they're changing the camera perspective from the original game, which I do not think is a big deal. I mean, if we're talking vibes, I basically got mostly Last of Us vibes. Can we turn...
Yeah.
When the enemy comes out of the door at one point, I'm like, okay, can we turn Silent Hill into The Last of Us? I mean, the answer is, of course you can. And I think they will be able to pull it off. This will be at least an 8.0 on every publication. Not sure if it'll exceed that based on the content of the game, but it's possible. I don't know what's in it. So last thing I think worth mentioning is developed by Bloober Team that did... This is where it gets a little confusing, or at least it was for me. I mean, they did the Medium, but they did the Observer.
Yeah.
And the team that's doing the other Silent Hill game did Observation.
Right.
Very different games.
I know, but it's weird that both teams with both of those games that get confused are doing different Silent Hill new properties.
Which one that did Observation is doing... Which game are they making?
Observation is doing Silent Hill Town Call.
Oh, I thought that was the Stories Untold people. Is that the same people?
Same people, I believe, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that game was awesome. And so was Stories Untold, so... That's the one I'm more excited for, I think. Because I think they have a better pedigree than the Bloober Team, personally. But it is a different style of game.
Sorry, which one were you talking about?
I was talking about Silent Hill Townfall.
Right, and then the team worked on what other game?
Stories Untold.
Oh, okay. But I don't... I mean, we'll get there in a second, so hold on to that thought, perhaps. But Bloober, I played the Medium a bit. I didn't love it. The gameplay was a little dry for me, and the pace was a little slow. Would be curious to revisit it at some point, but I don't know how likely that is right now. But Huck, you played the Medium and you played Observer, right?
I did not really play the Medium. I mean, I dabbled for like 20 minutes. And I did play Observer for a couple hours, I would say. So that game I put more time into, and it was okay. It was kind of like a weird cyberpunky hacky thing. Kind of gave me like...
I mean, the Medium launched on Series X. It looks pretty good. So I think they're kind of a great fit for taking a good core idea and standard gameplay elements and turning it into a next-gen experience.
It'll look good. I don't have any faith. I'm sure they'll be able to make it look good. So it'll be more... Is it fun to play? Which I don't think the Medium really was. And same with Observer. It wasn't really that fun to play. So that's my concern with them having it.
Well,
but
the good news is we got guns now in Silent Hill, so it will be fun. Perfect. Aiming, the tried and true mechanic for all video games, will be present.
Yeah, Bloober Team also did the Blair Witch game, which I played a little bit of, and it wasn't very good. But they also did Layers of Fear 1 and 2, which I know a lot of people really like. I haven't played them. But yeah, I think in terms of just what they've done, they are a good fit. And then you bring in a property and basically, a game with an established story and a lot of design elements. I think that's a great situation for them. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, so the next, are we good with that one? Can we move on?
yes.
Yeah, but I just wanted to say, so before we get into some of these other games, I mean, we could save this discussion for the end, but I'm just curious. We're at this point now where it's not just like E3 has kind of been fractured. Studios are doing their own press conferences. Now we're getting to the point where it's like game franchises get their own press conferences.
Game franchises within press conferences get their own press conferences, like Assassin's Creed.
Exactly. And I mean, this one, like the Silent Hill 2 remake, it's a big announcement. People have been waiting for this for a long time. It's a big deal, I think. All the other stuff, there's some cool tidbits, but there was not a lot. And it really felt like they are stretching this thing out. Everything
is a content stretch. Everybody's juicing. We're juicing. At least their juicing gives us a little more juice to drink when we do this podcast. So I'll accept it. I'll go with it. But in this case, I don't have a lot to say about it.
I was listening to another podcast and they were saying that that they think Sony is not doing any shows right now because of the lawsuit with Xbox and Activision thing going on, how they're trying to stop that. And they think that their whole argument is like, oh, if Xbox acquires Activision, they'll have too many exclusives. And so all these announcements are games that are exclusive to Sony. So if they come out and be like, look at all these exclusives we have, it kind of undercuts their argument that like Xbox is stealing all the exclusives, which I thought kind of made sense because this seems not very big to have like a big kind of, I mean, it's not a big showcase, but like to have its own thing dedicated to it. And I'm just wondering if like maybe these games that are announcing by themselves now are not getting into the Sony, like, because Sony's not having a press conference, they have no spot to market, and they want to start their marketing cycle, and they're not going to sit around waiting for Sony to have another state of play. They're just going to get it out there because they need to get it out there because the game's going to come out soon. And I wonder if there's some sort of fallout from the whole Microsoft
I don't think so
thing.
personally. I don't agree with that take for two reasons. One, they just did a state of play in, was it September? I think,
I don't remember when,
or at least August. And isn't the lawsuit about prior exclusivity arrangements for Call of Duty, not about like monopolizing like exclusives?
Well, it's about the idea of, I guess, exclusives in general.
Yeah, Call of Duty going exclusive, and how that'll.
No, it's because they have a contract. They already had an exclusivity contract with Sony for DLC and early release windows. I'm pretty sure that's what that's about.
But that's Microsoft's counter argument to the whole thing is they're saying, well, why shouldn't we be allowed to acquire this company? This is the arms race we're in. Everybody's doing it. Look at Sony. They're acquiring studios and getting exclusive games as well. So I kind of see what Huck's saying, but I mean, it feels like a bit of a stretch, but I mean, maybe, I don't know.
I thought it was all about previous exclusivity rights established with Sony and what would happen with those. But I will admit I am not sure. So do not quote me on that. That's just hearsay at this point. So either could be true. But yeah, I mean, it's an interesting wrinkle for sure that I hadn't really thought of all that much. I mean, I guess my thought is it's just a way of like prolonging the acquisition while they can ship PS5, ship God of War, and before some of the stuff becomes exclusive, perhaps. I'm not sure, but I don't think it's that big of a deal, to be honest. Whatever happened with the Epic, like Apple, Microsoft, did that ever get resolved? Did we talk about that?
We did. I don't know what the final, like, I mean, it's still not on iOS.
Yeah, I mean, it's just fun. I mean, Xbox was saying they're going to have their own marketplace, I think, or something like that. I don't know what it is or what that means on mobile devices, but whatever. I do not find this part of the industry very interesting. So let's move on to the next game in Silent Hill. It is Silent Hill Town Call, I believe, developed by No Code, who developed Observation, which I'm not sure I even know exactly what that is.
It's like a space story game.
And
You're
I guess
in a space station.
What I got out of this game, it was very vague. It's a partnership with, is it Annapurna?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. What I expect it to be is like a first-person adventure game, like telling a story in the Silent Hill universe. But from what I could tell, they didn't say what the game is.
Yeah. Well, and No Code is even like kind of abstract. Like you walk around and there's like puzzles from what I remember. So it could even be more like that. Because they don't, in the description on IGN that Sean sent us, it does reference Stories Untold as the example, not Observation. Stories Untold, from what I recall, though, was a long time ago. You kind of walk to like different areas, and then in those areas, there's puzzles you have to solve. And so it might be something more like that. And it's not really like it's not so much of a story game in like, I'm going to progress the story. It's kind of like you have these stations, and as you solve the puzzles, you get kind of like story stuff, and then the game's over. So It might be more like that.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, the three main games we're going to talk about all feel like just different, interesting genre takes and ways of infusing a property that's a known name into different genre games. So none of this is really surprising. I think a story-based puzzle game, horror-y type game will work with Silent Hill, and they'll probably sell more because it has Silent Hill on it. So no surprise there, although not a lot to go on at this point. I don't know if anyone is with me there.
No, I'm trying to remember what the trailer even was. The description I see here is it was just a voice on a radio.
No, it was a portable TV. I'm pretty sure. Like,
wasn't that the other one? Maybe I'm getting them mixed up. But yeah, there wasn't any actual gameplay, obviously. So
yeah, no, this one had the portable CRTV.
Okay.
So yeah, not a lot to go on there. I'm going to skip the movie for now and get into the third game, Silent Hill Ascension. And they were really like skipping around, going from developer to producer to all. And I'm like, I don't know what this game is. Can we just establish what this game is? And I guess the selling point is Bad Robot is involved and a lot of big names associated with it. Quotes from J.J. Abrams, among others, trying to sell this game. And from the best I can gather, it's basically The Quarry or an interactive movie version with either streaming or crowd interaction to make decisions. I don't see how it could be anything else but that.
Yeah, that was the first thing I thought of. I mean, both The Quarry and I don't know if Until Dawn did it. I don't think it had that, but what was the Xbox one that has the the one you hated, Frank? It's like an interactive.
It too.
Well, okay, I hate it too. But
After Dusk or something.
Until As Dusk Falls.
As Dusk Falls.
Whatever it was. Yeah.
It is As Dusk Falls.
Both of those games have like online multiplayer elements where people can vote on what happens. It seems like that's kind of a new emerging genre in a way. So it does seem like maybe that's what they're jumping on. But the article I'm looking at here is also comparing it to like Twitch Plays stuff. And they mention Immortality and the Black Mirror, sort of like choose your own adventure movie. So I mean, I don't know. Yeah, it could be any of those things, but it sounded like they had some hook or really expanding upon I inferred a variance of outcomes as to what can happen when people are interacting, but I will believe that when I see it. I'm not convinced this game will be anything special other than an interactive story that we've seen before, but again, tied to a property people like, so it will probably sell well. It's kind of like what everything is doing. Get an established IP and slap it on to as many different genres, forms, shows, content, apps, whatever the hell you can do with it. So remarkably uninteresting, but could be potentially good games. I mean, you could go down a list. They said they get proposals from teams all over the world. We've been part of that process before where you pitch to studios and they must get, because there hasn't been a Silent Hill game, people pitching them their version of it. And it's like, okay, what genre of games do we make well? Can we make it in Silent Hill, or what could we bring to the table? It's not that shocking. So I would hope at the very least the pitches have some unique ideas in them that we haven't been privy to yet, or we will see once the game comes out. Yeah, and I mean, those other two games feel like kind of lower budget projects, which maybe not as much risk involved with them, but potentially a big upside if they catch on. So
I mean, I would think the least amount of risk is the Silent Hill 2 remake. I think it'll do pretty well no matter what, unless it's a complete disaster. But last game thing, Silent Hill F, with a lowercase f. I really like the logo for this. It's just a quick teaser with some art in vibe stuff going on, and I thought it looked pretty neat. I'm intrigued by the very little that we saw. Developed by Neobards, which I do not know much about.
Yeah, so what I'm seeing here is it's the studio that did Resident Evil Reverse, and Ryukishi 707 is somehow named in the trailer.
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
It says creator of the When They Cry visual novel series. So it could be a visual novel, but I'm not too sure.
That's interesting. The vibe I got was this is the next big Silent Hill game in the style of Silent Hill.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I thought the teaser definitely...
In the world of Silent Hill, I mean, sorry.
It looked intriguing. I mean, the other ones, really didn't show anything, but this one at least had some imagery. Not that this is necessarily imagery from the game, but yeah, it looked kind of cool.
It gave me almost like Deadly Premonition vibes in that like other world, like at the beginning of the game, and I think you go back to it a couple times, but yeah, it looked kind of neat. I don't know. We'll see. You don't really know what the game is because it's just CG trailer, but there's definitely some sort of like mystery and going on. Could be interesting.
Okay. Sorry, it's not the... I don't think it is the Silent Hill world. I did mean style. I think it's going to be like a third-person Silent Hill game, but I think it's set in Japan, right? Or at least the...
Yeah, I said 1960s Japan or something like that.
Yeah, sorry. I was misspeaking twice there. And I think that's it. It reminded me of Ghostwire Tokyo a bit. Like if you took that and added some more supernatural elements, or leaned on the horror side of that stuff even more, it felt similar to that. But I don't know. There's nothing to go on at this point.
The one weird thing, the one article I'm looking at says it's supposed to release October 28th. Is that true? That can't be true. It says currently in development everywhere else I look. So I don't know where they got that from. Oh no, Resident Evil Reverse is October 28th. That's what they were talking about.
Whoa. Yeah, this ain't coming out for a while, bud.
Yeah.
All right, last two things. New Silent Hill movie, Return to Silent Hill, by the same director, Christopher Gans. I've never seen Silent Hill. I will admit.
Maybe we got to do a review.
I kind of want to see it. Is it actually this revered? Is this like completely made up hype? Like, why do people care about the Silent Hill movie?
I remember
it looked that bad in the clips I saw.
Yeah, I remember liking it. I remember it kind of felt true to the game in the first half, and then I remember it just getting really weird in the second half, which again maybe is true to the game. I can't say. I didn't play enough of the game, but yeah, I remember liking the first one. But then they did a sequel. Did he do the sequel? I don't remember if he actually did the sequel.
Well, it's written by Roger Avery? I didn't know that.
Yeah. And the sequel, from what I understand, is pretty bad. So I don't know if there's that much excitement for him to come back and do another Silent Hill game. I felt like this whole section just went on forever. Like they had nothing to say. Like, I don't know. It was a bit much, but
it was long.
Yeah.
And tedious. But I'll tell you what, some of the screenshots I'm seeing on IMDb, I got to see this movie.
Well, put it on the schedule. Upcoming Game Junk review.
The game. I don't want to
call it classic.
I don't think. I don't remember what it's based on. Like, I mean, they were talking about this movie, the new movie that it's going to draw from Silent Hill 2. So I'm pretty sure the first movie kind of drew from Silent Hill 1.
That's what I mean. Is it going to ruin Silent Hill 1 for when they... I
don't think it was that true to the story, but I could be wrong.
Commenters, let me know. Should I wait or watch Silent Hill until I finally play Silent Hill 1, whenever that may be?
Which will be never.
And finally, we got some sweet museum quality replicas.
Yep.
Quite a few. I mean, I know nothing, but the one secret ending one, that was a diorama of like these dogs in a computer room or something.
Yep.
If I liked Silent Hill, I would be buying that 100.
That was cool. I have no idea what that secret ending is, but that looked cool.
The other stuff, like the photorealistic characters, could care less. But that's the secret ending. I kind of want to play Silent Hill.
Yep.
Any other thoughts on the Silent Hill transmission?
None.
No, I think that's about it. I mean, I think it's cool that we know that some stuff is in the works, but definitely was not much to see from the majority of it.
Dare we give this a letter grade?
Oh boy.
I dare me.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
I have to say, I don't care about Silent Hill, and there was like 4 game announcements. The movie stuff was way too long. But I'm going to say, for what it is, B-.
Yeah, I was thinking B- as well. There was a lot of just talking between the presenters as well, which, again, they were really saying nothing. But
it was very specific. When I compare it to the Assassin's Creed one, which was very similar in what they announced, this one was actually a little shorter. And they didn't see it, they weren't talking about the importance of Silent Hill. It was just, this is where we are. This is what we're making. Here's who's involved. If I was a fan of Silent Hill, I would like the direct, straightforward approach they took without it being about how definitive and how important the first Silent Hill go. Some of the developers were like that when they were saying it influenced all of us, blah, 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 whatever. But I kind of liked it. The vibe.
Huck, are you abstaining or?
I didn't watch the transmission.
What?
So let's just say I will defer. I will defer my thing. I watched the 3-minute IGN synopsis jam session it showed. So I saw it. I think I saw everything.
You probably got everything you need from those 3 minutes.
Part of me wishes I had done the same thing. I can't. I need to have all the details for this podcast. Okay, let's get into what we played. And we must start with Gotham Knights, the new game that came out on Friday. Been a long time since we've had a new Batman game, not developed by Rocksteady, developed by WB Montreal. And it is co-op is the big selling feature of this game. And as with any game that goes co-op, those decisions propagate outwards into every system in the game. And I've only done the intro where you unlock multiplayer, which for me was about 2 hours, but I was very thorough with what I was doing, inspecting menus, doing tutorials and training missions. Sean, where are you at?
I'm pretty much the exact same point as you. It probably took me about the same length of time. So yeah, I don't know that our initial impressions are going to be as detailed as maybe they need to be. But I mean, we gotta start too, in true film junk, game junk fashion. We gotta talk about the reaction to this game that is going on out there. I don't
know. I just saw a 5 from IGN. When I checked Metacritic, feels like it's about a 75. If I had to check right now,
I think I saw it was in the 60s on Metacritic.
Really?
So it's definitely taken a bit of a beating, I would say.
But it felt like a game that people were priming up to shit on.
Exactly. That's all I was going to say. I haven't played enough to fully say, and maybe I will come away feeling yep, that's spot on. But it felt like people already knew they were going to hate this game. And part of it was, they announced a couple of things right before release. I don't know if did we mention it last week about the 30 FPS on PS5 and Series X?
God.
That people did not like that. Just little things like that built up to the point where it was okay, all the reviews come out and they are pretty bad. But I guess I'll just say from what I've played so far, I do think the combat and the traversal stuff definitely feels like a step back from the Arkham games. And I don't know if I can totally put my finger on it. Like, I know one thing with the traversal, you don't get the kind of bat glide right out of the gate. I think I read that that's something you can unlock later. Like, I was just trying to do that right off the bat, and you don't have it. So that was kind of weird.
Which character did you play the intro with?
I mostly use Batgirl.
I was Batgirl as well. And you just basically they turn it into this, they extend the range of your grappling hook. Like, you can pretty much grapple anywhere and do anything.
Right. I did see some reviews complaining that the placement of the grapple points was not great. I didn't really have that problem, but I mean, I barely, I just went to GCPD and back basically. So I can't say
I hope
for
those
sure.
same reviewers pointed out the same thing in Sekiro when they reviewed that. Arbitrary grapple points. I'm sure they didn't, even though I love Sekiro. But, I mean, let's start right out of the gate, Sean, as I like to do. That intro cinematic is painful. Like, painful.
There were multiple points where I was like, okay, I'm skipping this. And I was like, I'll just keep watching. I'm like, I should just skip this. No, I'll keep watching.
Setting up the death of Batman. And between this, like, fight sequence, which is just going through the motions. This game feels so dated in terms of presentation, whether it's cinematics or dialogue. It's going through the motions. It's dialogue for the sake of dialogue, and like very slow paced. Everything you're doing within that, and like I said, that first fight sequence, they fight in the Batcave for 6 minutes. And it's not even that, like, there's nothing interesting going on. It's just like a standard fight. So, although I think of all the work that went into making that 5 minutes instead of 2, and it's a barrier to entry to the game. I did not play the game. I think it was 17 minutes. I had to wait and watch stuff before I was doing anything. Game developers know that's a problem and have fixed issues like that. Like I said, probably in 2007 is when we veered. Okay, let's get him into the game. Uncharted 2. Let's get him right into the game right away and tell story through that, and then do some cutscenes. So that feels the dialogue and cinematics, very stilted, not that interesting, and I just want to play this game.
I mean, Jay was asking us if he was if the game's good, if he should give it a poke. I mean, that right there, he will probably not make it past that cutscene.
Yeah. I mean, he might skip it anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But I'm certainly not done with the game. I think the combat is a little different, but getting to where I expect those games to be. The Bat Cycle is a huge step back from the Batmobile. Like, I loved the Batmobile in Arkham Knight, and to kind of go back to this lame motorcycle is a really bad decision. Maybe they'll evolve combat on that. I doubt it. And it's really not very exciting. A lot of people are complaining about the runtime. I'm welcoming the short runtime, so I'm cool with that. But again, this idea of multiplayer, how these decisions propagate into every system in the game. Now we've got this complicated armor system, swapping out, crafting, upping your gear and levels like Assassin's Creed, Destiny, stuff like that. It was probably going to be monetized at one point. That got cut. I would almost bet on that. God of War kind of does the same thing. And I do not understand these systems. I don't think anyone likes them. I mean, they're a necessity, from what I can tell, for scaling difficulty, especially across co-op. And like having economies of weapons and armor that can be auto-generated by systems, but it's certainly not fun. And I'm sure I'm not alone when I say I would rather just have a single player Batman that's average or better, but we have not played co-op yet. I am holding out some hope.
Yeah, we definitely got to play this week. I mean, that's one thing too with the reviews that I'm wondering about. Like, I don't know if I've seen a lot of discussion about the co-op element, and I feel like, well, that's, okay, yeah, we were sacrificing some of this and that, but like the whole thing was to bring co-op. So is the co-op fun? I haven't really heard yet. So
yeah, if there was, well, the whole hook with what made Arkham Asylum great, and it's been copied many times, is the rhythmic combat. And I was like, well, maybe there is opportunities to do interesting rhythm and coordination in co-op with the combat. But then you'd kind of have to communicate with your teammate. How will that work? I've never seen a game do that well, so I'm hesitant to believe it could work. But I'm not writing it off yet, but I'm guessing it's just, if anything, it degrades the enemy systems and the squad-based attacks at the expense of co-op play. Like God of War, Ascension, and other games, they should have learned they didn't need to learn what God of War Ascension learned. Taking a great single-player game and making it multiplayer doesn't seem to please anyone. Can you think of an exception? Like a great single-player game that went multiplayer, and not like a different version, like the same core mechanics going multiplayer that people love more than the original single-player version. Has it ever happened?
I mean, I can think of like puzzle platformers that have done it, but I don't know about like big AAA games. I can't think of any offhand.
And everyone used to try this, even if it was just deathmatch or versus modes in Tomb Raider, Uncharted. It was like a requirement. And then they learned, we don't need to do this. People don't actually no one plays them. No one cares. I don't know who decided we had to do this. And I don't know who's deciding every game has to have leveling up systems and mods and armor.
Yeah, I mean, the customization thing maybe comes a bit out of the co-op thing. Like if you're going to play with other people and you want to have something to distinguish your character, and maybe that's part of it. But I do admit, going into that menu for the first time and kind of like seeing how much different stuff there is, I was like, this is more than I want to care about this. So that is a bit worrisome. The combat, I think one key difference, like that feels different between this and the other Arkham games. Like Batman was always this counter system where it's like you look for the tells of when people are attacking, and you can kind of like queue up a bunch of them, and then you can counter multiple people at once. And this doesn't seem to have that. Like it's more of an evade.
It's like they took that idea and like, well, we need to do a next gen version of that where it's not obvious tells and lightning bolts over people's heads. And no, you should do. That's what was great about it. Like you're reacting. It's about reaction time, combos, being aware of multiple things happening around your character. I'm sure co-op was an influence in that, but it's just not as fun. Now, we just started, so they might, like how the old Arkham games would expand as you played and introduce more possibilities into the loop of how you take on groups of enemies. That could still happen. And I do want to say it's not that bad. It's still the core combat that's decent. It looks good for the most part. It's just, in terms of hype and the previous entries in the series, not living up to those things. But I still, out of all the games coming out right now, I think it was did they up their release date?
Yeah, they pushed it up a week or something.
Definitely a way to get out of God of War's zone as much as they could to get some sales. I think they knew what they had here.
Which is for sure.
Underwhelming.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm still enjoying it. I still see myself probably playing through this. I mean, I liked Arkham Origins. A lot of people don't like that one. I even liked the 2.5D one they did, or Origins Blackgate or something. Yeah. I thought that was pretty good. So
this guy loves Batman.
They always seem to have just something that I'll get hooked. I'll get into it. Although talk
about one thing, because you literally just talked about the Origins game, and then focusing on, to my recollection, the detective aspect, because everyone complains that Batman's a detective. Where's the detecting? Well, you asked for it. You got it.
It's funny, after having just talked about detective games last week, and
this has like a very simple, at least the tutorial versions of deducing. You go into this weird kind of first person game mode where you look at evidence and have to make a decision based on that. It almost is like a mini case of the golden idol. And I kind of like that. I see potential in it. I don't know where it's going to go. I definitely prefer it to the scrubbing mechanics of Cyberpunk and just having to watch stuff in like an exercise in exhaustion of finding stuff. This, it's like deductive problem solving, and it's kind of effective. I could see how someone wouldn't like it though and be like, this is not why I got this game.
Yeah, I guess I'm not like the first one that I did seemed like you could just trial and error it, so I didn't really get the big deal. Then the second one, there was kind of like a hidden thing that you had to find, and I was like, okay, so if there's more of that stuff, I kind of am into it. But it seemed kind of surface level to me to start. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. There are some things like that in the game. There's what was I going to say? There was some other thing that jumped out at me as being kind of different, and I can't remember what it is now. I mean, I guess we should say like there's 4 characters. You can switch between them by going back to your the Belfry, which is like your HQ. And I did briefly try out the other characters. They do feel different. I think Nightwing felt very like the combat felt more fun with him. Like he's just very acrobatic. It kind of reminded me a bit of like Spider-Man. Like it felt like the Spider-Man game. Red Hood is more about using guns, which all the characters do have ranged attacks, and you can kind of go into aiming mode and seemingly shoot unlimited at people. I don't know. I'm not sure what the downside to that would be. It seems like that could be pretty powerful, but
I thought Batgirl would maybe be the closest approximation to Batman and what I'm used to in that series, but I didn't get that at all. So I don't know if another character is.
Yeah, I mean, they're all kind of different. Red Hood is more of a brawler. He has guns, and he's like more like heavier swings. He's a little bit slower. Robin, I think, is more about stealth, but I didn't really get to try that. I just know he has like a bow staff, so that's kind of his attacks. And I'm kind of thinking I might switch to Nightwing for a bit and try him out. But I guess that's the other thing too, is you can switch between them. You do share XP, like people level up equally, but if you start putting stuff into your skill trees, like you kind of want to concentrate on one person, I think, because then they're all just going to be low levels. Like you'll be able to have a few skills for each or a lot of skills for one. And I think you want to probably just pick one. So, yeah, I feel like there was one other thing, but I don't know.
Did you do any of the training, the tutorial stuff?
Yeah,
like,
I did.
Was so cumbersome.
Yeah,
it actually is kind of like Cyberpunk, going into the like this training area, and I tried to do one where you had to throw people off a ledge, and it was almost impossible.
Yeah, that was a pain.
That was the first one I did. And I'm like, oh my God, like it's not even telling me what I need to do. I aim them right at the ledge, and then they don't go over it. It's a little rough.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I guess that's about it for now. But
it's feeling like a 7 about now. But in the IGN review, they talked about the actual mission balance and how it relates to co-op. And if that's bad, if it's really hard in single player and the difficulty scaling of enemies is not good, it could go down. So the 60s, high 60s might be about right on Metacritic for this one.
Yeah, the one thing I just remembered, so I was going to say, the one thing I really like with the other games, I like the Riddler trophies. I like the kind of, you're traveling around and all of a sudden you see something and you kind of investigate and now you're kind of caught up in that. This doesn't have that, but it does have some kind of collectible thing. I can't remember what it was. Some kind of, what was it? Dick Grayson's something or other. He's got them scattered throughout the city. So it's not as cool as the Riddler trophies, but I guess it's something.
Well, are they have you done any of them yet? Are they actually like those, like the puzzles?
I haven't done any yet. It seemed like it was more like the Spider-Man, like collecting packages or whatever. It's probably just something marked on a map. It might be, you might have to look under something to find it, but I don't think there's puzzles.
If they got rid of the equivalent of Riddler trophies, there's a big problem here.
I know. I'm worried about that.
One of the best things, if not like this, aside from combat, Riddler trophies were so good. The perspective puzzles and all that stuff, they were so inventive.
I know. I agree. But
Yikes.
There's some other thing too. There's like Gotham City history or something where you have to like find historic landmarks in Gotham City.
That was in Spider-Man.
Yeah.
You just photograph stuff.
Oh, it's batarangs, I think. You have to find batarangs throughout the city. So, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, it's, I would say not horrible, but I kind of will have to wait and see what the co-op's like.
This was your most anticipated game of the year, was it not?
It was definitely in my top 5. But, yeah.
Out of the games that are actually releasing this year.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Anyway, whatever. All right, we'll keep playing it. We'll see if it gets better or worse. I'm guessing worse. Huck, how about you?
I played a little bit of A Plague Tale Requiem, which came out this week. So I played it probably about 30 minutes or so, enough to beat the first chapter and get to the second chapter. And the part I played was primarily just stealth and combat. Much more combat in the opening section than in the previous game. But same style of combat. You still have the sling and a rock you throw to disable enemies, or you can kind of like lob a rock onto a pile of things that make noise, and then it distracts people so you can sneak around them. Pretty much that was it. There were some impressive kind of like sections with fire and stuff, and it definitely does a good job of building the tension as you're trying to escape through this little like town that is has some bad guys in it. So overall, liking it. Pretty similar to what I remember from the first game in terms of the stealth and the combat. Have not got to any of the rats part that made the first game famous. So still very early in this game, but looks good. There was a little bit of like lip syncing issues that it looked like they were trying to hide by like having people like pass behind other people in the opening cutscene that I noticed, but minor point. Overall, looks pretty good, and yeah, I'm enjoying it still. I didn't put that much time into it though, so definitely want to get back to that one.
And you beat and really liked the first one, right?
Yes, yeah. It was really good.
Cool. Yeah, I gotta give that a try.
Yeah,
now, would you say you have to play the first game before you can play the second game?
No. So the first, it is the same kind of characters, and I think I can't really tell when. I can't remember when this takes place relative to the first game, but I think it's after. And obviously there is some stuff that without the context of the first game, you'd be like, oh, that's kind of weird. But it's not. It's not like necessary to play the first game to get an idea of what's happening.
Okay.
I downloaded it, was going to try and play it because it's relatively short, but I don't think it's going to happen at this point because there's some other games that have taken over, and God of War. I wanted to replay God of War before the next one comes out, and that's not looking likely either.
Well, before you dive into your addiction of the day, I also played a bit of, this was a little bit of a library snafu, Tales of Vesperia I've been playing, which is an older Tales game, and I never played it before, but I'm actually really enjoying it. I'm liking kind of the action combat of the game, but I had this game on hold at the library for over a year, and after a year, your holds gets canceled, or your hold suspension gets canceled, I should say, putting it on pause. So then it came in, and I was like, oh, this is a nice surprise. I guess it's been a long time that I've been waiting on this one. So I decided to play it. Why not? I got it. No one else is waiting for this baby, so I've just been dabbling in that. It's been pretty fun. So a lot of Tales of Vesperia.
Oh, Vesperia. Okay.
Yeah.
Lots of areas in the Tales series.
Yes, there are. So the storyline right now is pretty, go to point A. The guy I'm looking for to point A isn't there. Go to point B. Okay, I'll go to point B. Oh, he's magically not here again. Oh, go to point C. Okay, I'll go to point C. And there's like a little bit of things kind of in between. So it's like pretty basic and straightforward, but the combat is pretty good, and it's a nice mindless sort of like RPG button masher, level me up kind of game. So I'm enjoying it.
The art style looks cool. It's giving me kind of Xenogears vibes.
Xenogears?
Or Xenosaga. I always get them wrong.
Okay. I would say more like
I can't even get them right.
Xenoblade. Oh yeah, okay. Yeah. The combat style?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the art style is kind of like Dragon Quest 11 or maybe like Ni no Kuni.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah. So, I don't know,
and
pretty fun game.
What was it? This is, I think, a remake. I'm assuming you're playing the definitive edition?
Yes, I am, yeah.
And so this is before Tales of Arise, which came out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, way before. Yeah. And I think it's even before Tales of Vesperia or something like that. That's even
the original Vesperia came out on Xbox 360, and then
it's quite
the
old.
definitive edition was 2019.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
All right.
That's
Sean,
it. Get into it.
Can I get into a game I'm dying to talk about?
Yeah, I just thought of one thing about Gotham Knights we should say, though. I don't know if you tried it on Steam Deck, but I played it on Steam Deck and it runs.
Okay.
I mean, not amazing, but like it was at like 30 in the missions and it was dipping kind of closer to 20 in the open world stuff. So I don't know. It's playable.
Rate displaying on your game when you play it?
Yeah, I was curious about this one in particular, so I turned it on.
Is that built into the Steam Deck? Can I do that?
Yeah, man. Just the ... button in the bottom right corner. Just hit that, and then one of the menu options there, you turn it on.
So this is a story. It's such a nice story. It's so much fun. And it's why I play video games. And last night it's 10 o'clock. I think I finished Zombie. The Fulci Zombie. I'm like, what am I going to do next? Am I going to play? Maybe I'll play Gotham Knights in preparation for this show. But before I did that, I thought, you know what? I need to go poo-poo first. And so I was like, maybe I'll take the Steam Deck in there for a ride.
Take it for a ride, baby.
So, I grab it, I sit down, and I'm just like, mostly I was thinking about what to play next or what to install on it. And then I saw Vampire Survivors went from early access to like officially launched on Tuesday, I believe. And I'd already installed it, but never played it. I bought it in early access a long time ago and never played it. So I was like, yeah, it's already installed. It had update on it. So I updated it and I was like, what the hell? I'll fire it up right now while I'm taking this dump. And I started playing it. And it was like, wow, this is it? This is all this game is? It's a single stick game. There's no buttons except for menus. All you do is move a character around with the left stick. I'm assuming, based on what I've seen since, this is a subgenre of game that I'm not that familiar with, or an emerging subgenre of video games. But it's a roguelite, and all you do is take a character and destroy hordes of enemies. It's almost like instead of bullet hell, enemy hell, and your weapons are powering up. If you look at images of this game, it is just crazy hordes of enemies and insanity on the screen. And eventually what I love about it is the simplicity. And to me, if you don't know what roguelite is, if you're like, everyone's talking about roguelite and roguelike, I don't get it. I don't understand them. They're not fun. To me, Vampire Survivors reduces a roguelite to its core essence. It's making decisions very quickly and not being worried about there are mechanics, don't get me wrong, but they're very minimal, and it's more about small strategies on how you do things and how you make those decisions. It's taking roguelite and condensing it down to its essence. And I've never seen a game do this before. I don't know. It's up there for my game of the year right now. I could see how I might get a little bored. I got off the toilet not that short after. And that run, I did a couple runs on the toilet. And then I got up and I continued to play this game until 5 a.m. And at 5 a.m, I said to myself, I have to stop playing this game or I'm going to be fucked for the rest of the week. Otherwise, I would have kept playing. And when I looked at a trailer on Steam, I think they did an interesting thing. They had quotes from streamers, I think. And one quote was something to the effect of, is that really what time it is? And that's the feeling I had playing it, where like just wanted to do another one, experiment. It's always unlocking new stuff. And I think, I told Sean, I think his kids would like it I'm not quite sure of the content warnings. It didn't look that bad, but it's just, a very fun, simple. Its simplicity is its beauty. The graphics are nothing remarkable. It's like basic kind of 16-bit graphics. Doesn't look that great, but I am having so much fun playing this game. This game is $5. I think it's on sale for $4 right now in Canada. It's probably less in the US. Maybe not. Maybe when the game is that cheap, it's the same in all regions. You got to give it a poke.
I think it's on Game Pass PC as well. At least it was.
Really? Okay.
So yeah, definitely no excuse to not even check it out at this point. But Frank very kindly sent me and Huck copies of the game as well to prompt us to play it.
I was like, it's a couple bucks. I got to get these guys in on Vampire Survivors.
Well, I played a couple runs. I only had time for a couple, but that first run, I don't know if they did something with like tweak it so your first run is an amazing run, but
I think
I was like it was like 10 or 15 minutes and I was like, okay, I get it. Like
it's also a slot machine when you get the treasure chests and like all these exciting things are happening. Well, it feels like a slot machine with interaction. It's so satisfying.
It's funny you mentioned that. I was going to bring this up because just reading some stuff about the game, there was an article. The guy it's like one guy basically made this game. He used to work as a programmer for gambling games. Okay. So he knows how to like basically have all those bells and whistles go off to make you feel like you're doing something. And yeah, it's like you kind of level up as you keep playing. There's treasure chests, like there's things that break up the gameplay, which is otherwise very simple, but you always feel like you're making progress, you're getting stuff, cool things are happening.
And most great roguelikes or roguelites come down to runs and making decisions and seeing the consequences of multiple decisions and what's unique about that run. And this game is constantly encouraging me to try different types of runs, unlock new characters. It incorporates ways to have you try different weapons, weapon combinations, very similar to Hades. But, it's just basically about the decision making. And it's kind of in between Loop Hero and, Hades at some level. But I guess, not maybe Children of Morta. It was more like with some of the different characters and play styles and stuff like that. Because you start to unlock a lot of characters. But
is this like a clicker game, but instead of clicking, you're just moving the cursor around?
No, you're moving the character around. That's it.
So the thing that's kind of like the cool, I don't know if there's other games that have done this, but like as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, this is interesting because you don't attack. As Frank said, you don't hit a button to attack, but your character does attack. It's just like an auto like every 2 seconds he does like a whip attack, and then you start getting other things like now he's got a dagger, so now he's throwing a dagger as well, and now he's throwing an axe, and so like
you can level them all up individually and like get these compounding effects of how all these different effects or weapons are being used and shot. And it's, I mean, we'll get into this in a second, but it's clearly inspired by Castlevania. Like all of the sub weapons are things that have been seen in Castlevania, and then it starts to expand upon that.
Yeah, but so it's like you're moving to get away and to keep distance from these hordes that are coming at you, but you kind of move in every couple seconds so your attack can actually hit things. And that's kind of like a cool, felt new kind of mechanic to me.
Yeah, and there are subtleties as to how you move depending on what weapons you have in, like they work in different ways. Some are ranged, some are random, some are pinpointing different characters. Kind of remind me a lot of Nobody Saves the World, and specifically it's like a game evolving around the ghost form and taking the ghost form and adding like taking all the powers from the other characters in the game and throwing them all into one that you choose between them simultaneously.
Yeah, it reminded me a bit of Disc Room as well, which is sort of a bullet hell game where you just dodge like saw blades and stuff. But
oh yeah, I play Disc Room. I mean, Disc Room is a little more puzzly and less decisions. Right? It's more like just rooms with puzzles.
Yeah, it's not really a
roguelite
roguelite or anything.
Maybe that would fall under the genre. Or do you dodge, you press buttons to dodge in Disc Room. Right?
I think you get one power that you can choose from. So
I think there's like flash-based games that are in the genre where you just move one thing around and do stuff, browser-based things. But I am loving it. I did a run right before we started, and I was like, I made myself wait to play this 30 minutes before, because that's the max run time for some of the levels. I'm like, I would be forced to stop playing it. Otherwise, I know I'd play it until 6 a.m. tonight.
Yeah, it's weird.
I can see a point where it stops getting interesting, but right now, that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like a game that you got 5 minutes, you're like, oh, I'll throw it on, and then it just keeps going, and you're hooked. But
it's a perfect Steam Deck game.
Yeah.
So thinking of that last observation, I was also, when I started it up, I was like, I'm waiting for them to announce a new Steam Deck, like a version 2.0 that's even better, same price. I imagine that'll happen in the next year. And while I was doing this, I became at peace, and I was like, I can accept this, and I'll get the new one, and then I'll take the old one, and I'll just dock it in the bathroom. It'll be the poop deck. It'll just stay there permanently. It's perfect. So bring it on. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, they should have a bathroom mount. They should sell an official bathroom mount.
Toothbrush holder. All your stuff, all in one spot. I'm in.
Yeah.
As Sean, when we were texting, it got a big time dump bump.
Yeah. But so, I mean, should we mention, like Huck, you were saying, we talked about this game a long time ago at some point.
I'd forgotten, yeah.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that the developer has been accused of stealing some assets from Castlevania, which he has apparently changed them now. But whether they actually...
The early access versions, now, they had said it was from an asset bundle that they had purchased from somewhere else. Like, they didn't develop them themselves. But as far... In the article Sean sent, it has been rectified. But, I mean, it's still very similar. And to be honest, lots of games have done similar assets. And especially to old 8-bit games and stuff like that, reused ideas. Like, where does I'm sure there's tiles in Axiom Verge that look almost identical to Metroid. Like,
yeah,
what's the line with this stuff?
I think the other thing a guy was talking to is that the cover art is essentially the exact same as Bayonetta's cover art, except with that character kind of like painted over. So there's
the pose of the second character. Okay,
the pose of the the woman or whatever it is with like her arms kind of like back like that is like an exact copy of one of Bayonetta's cover art, key art things. So it's a little
I
suspect.
see that. Yeah, Bayonetta 2's cover art. Yeah,
little suspect. Yeah,
I mean, artists do that all the time when they're animating stuff. They take a pose and they use it for keyframes. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird because when we talked about that last, I don't know, I just had in my head that this was actually like a Castlevania style game, but it's really just the art assets that are taken from it. But
yeah, I mean, it's weird to think that my game of the year could be a $5 game.
I mean, interesting question though, Frank. Is it a 2022 game? Because it came to early access December 2021.
Nope. Officially got released. I don't do early access.
I don't know, Frank. I don't know if that is how the rules work.
Oh, I do.
I'm with Frank.
And it's
2022. October.
Because I'm not judging games when they enter early access. I take them as final products. I don't think I've ever put an early access game on my list.
That's a good point.
That's right, Sean. Because you know why? Because you know why. Because there ain't no achievements yet, bud. We're going to play them.
Now we get to the bottom of it.
There'll be no early access games ever. I'm still waiting for Have a Nice Death to put achievements on there because it looks amazing. I want to.
Can they put them when it's early access?
Some do. There are early access games with achievements. They just pick a point when they want to do that. Some wait. Some get them in early. It varies how they treat that stuff.
Cool.
But it was one of the best surprises I've ever had trying a game.
Yeah, I mean it's a great experience, and it's one of those games too where it's like as a developer you're like you play it and you're like, oh fuck, it's like so simple.
Like I could make this.
But yeah, it's a great idea.
Pretty easily. How did I like? It is. It's inspiring in its simplicity. How it expands upon the simplicity and makes me want to keep playing. You know, there's lots of simple games, but you get sick of them. This one, I just want to keep going back to it. We'll see how long it lasts. Loop Hero was similar, but I got tired of that at some point. But this is more fun than Loop Hero to me, and I think it's a lot of the slot machine elements. Getting a chest is the best. You haven't even gotten Gold Fever yet. There's tons of stuff you're not even aware.
I mean, it's funny because we had this discussion a long time ago when we were talking about loot boxes and stuff, and we were kind of making the argument, or at least maybe I was trying to make the argument that like developers put like that's what developers do. They try to put like addictive elements in their games. So what's the difference between a loot box or just gameplay? Like it's part of it, but I mean, obviously people got mad about that. But
I don't think it's I think you try to make a player feel rewarded and empowered. So certain sounds do that and make it more fun and are satisfying to hear. Like if you had this same loot box and instead of a bunch of cool sounds, it was like, what you wouldn't do it. It wouldn't be addictive on its own. It's the experience is good and it feels good. Things that feel good can be addicting. And
what was that sound again? I'm not sure if it was addicting or not. Can you make it again?
Definitely not
pretty
addictive.
I don't know. I'm addicted.
No, I'm saying that wouldn't be. You wouldn't give a shit. So it's a combination of things. It's not just because it's a loot box.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, when we talked about loot boxes, there's the whole other like the monetization element and all that stuff. It's a bigger thing, but I just mean like it's interesting that this guy literally came from the world of gambling and has made a super addictive video game.
Yeah, and I'm addicted.
And now you're spreading your addiction to us, and then so it goes.
And the loss for my addiction is time. So that's the nice part. I'm losing my own time. All right. Anyone else play anything?
Nope.
I was also kind of addicted to Cult of the Lamb. I'm almost done that game, and
I just picked it up today. It was on sale somewhere, so
I am also really enjoying that still as well. And it's really grown on me. Even the simulator aspects, management, I dig that stuff too. I love the back and forth. Going back and forth between the two genres is a great game loop, and that game rocks too. So, good year for games. Got to get ready for the Ragnarok. Don't let us down. Do not be a failure, Ragnarok. It'll be a huge bummer. Don't Forbidden West me. Don't you dare.
You still got to go back and play that, Frank.
I do, but I'm literally going to play Zero Dawn first because it's amazing. I pulled myself away from Zero Dawn. I know you have not returned. You quit on Zero Dawn. That's okay. That's your mistake.
I haven't quit. I'm still playing it.
Nice.
But slowly. There's too many things coming out right now.
Better than not at all. I'll take it. Anything else to add? Anyone? Okay. Nope. Might not be a show next week. It's possible there will be no show. But we'll see. Who knows?
Maybe we'll put up some Gotham Knights gameplay or something.
Could do that. Maybe I'll do a little Vampire Survivors. Get people in. Part of the addiction. That'd be Gotham Knights or Vampire Survivors would also be a good like Halloween drop or stream.
Yeah.
But you can check us out on youtube.com/gamejunk. Sean is filmjunk on Twitter. Andrew is My Angry Commute and Equilibrium Sis. Thanks for listening or watching. See you next time. Bye-bye.